Hi Soul Space, Sheila Hill here, and it's Monday night at 9. Feels like it's been weeks and weeks since I have done the Monday night. Well, I mean, it actually has been a couple of weeks. Just going to wait a couple of minutes to see who pops on to share this talk with me tonight. If you are watching this on the replay, I did do an impromptu video on Friday. It spoke to a little bit about what's going on in the ascension process, some of the triggers the full moon has brought on. There's just a lot of commonality amongst both my journey in the month of February, but a lot to do with what's going on with my clients where the ego is really being triggered. So if you haven't seen it, go through the discussion feed and find it. You may find something in there very interesting. Tonight we are going to talk just a little bit about the difference between being an extrovert and being an introvert, and then how to care for your introverted self if you are indeed an introvert. Because the reason I decided to do a live on this is for myself in my own healing journey. When I was working with a coach years ago, I found out that I'm an introvert, and it was an absolute game changer for me in learning and understanding that that was the case. And it's a piece of the puzzle that I work into my healing programs with my one-on-one clients. Those that sign on for the 3-month healing package with me, we do both the spiritual, well, there goes an orb. We do both the spiritual, the energy, and the ego work, all of it. So it's a part of what I bring into my programs. And it never ceases to amaze me that quite often when people do the test, they actually do, well, I'll get into it. So, all right, so I'll start at the very beginning. Sorry, I got a little thrown off there. So whether you are, hi Steph, people understand in society the stereotypical understanding of what an introvert is. And oh, there goes another one. Hi Shannon. So whether you're an introvert or an extrovert really has nothing to do with the stereotypical traits of an extrovert is a partier and an introvert is a bookworm that sits in the corner and is shy and doesn't really speak to people. Because those of you that know me, I am a full-blown introvert and I can do it all. So it really has nothing to do with those traits. What it has to do with is energy and how you create your energy. So for introverted people, they create their own energy stores. So like the energy that it takes for them to go out in the world and function and focus and be who they're going to be. Extroverted people get their energy from the outside world, from actually being out in the world and doing stuff. That's how extroverts restore their energy stores. Whereas with introverts, they do it internally. So introverts are absolutely able to be speakers, to go to parties, to live an extroverted life. But the piece that's often missing is that they don't know the protocols for caring for their inner introvert. So what often happens is the world and society and the belief systems that we live in here, particularly in North America, is that it's an extroverted world. The world itself is an extroverted space. So the expectations put upon people are like, well, what do you mean you don't want to come to a party? Well, we're all going for lunch. Why don't you guys come? Why don't you join us for lunch? Why don't you do this? Why don't you be involved? Why don't you do stuff? Go where people go. What do you mean you're not going Black Friday shopping at Square One, right? Like stuff like that. So those things would actually make an introvert want to poke their eye out. Oh my God, going Black Friday shopping at Square One. Can you imagine? I would rather die. So anyway, what often happens is that the message that the introvert receives by being a participant in this extroverted world is that there's something wrong with me. So as I said, I do this testing as a part of my one-on-one healing package with my clients, and it never ceases to amaze me how often they test false. So I had this with one of my clients recently, where she did it's called the Myers-Briggs test, and I will post it in the group because I think it would be fun if whoever is interested in doing so can do the test and post your results in the group, and we can kind of chat about it and see who's what. So I think that would be fun. But she tested as an extrovert. And I said to her, when I saw that, I'm like, yeah, no, that's not right. And she's like, but I answered all the questions. You had me do the test. I'm like, yep, I intuitively know you're not an extrovert. You're an introvert like me. So I talked to her a little bit about what it feels like to be an introvert living in an extroverted world. And like all these light bulbs went off in her head. She was like, oh my God, I have thought that there was something wrong with me all this time. I have held myself in judgment on a number of occasions where I felt that I wasn't meeting the expectations of the people I was with, or the expectations of the world or my life or society. And here it had nothing to do with that at all. It was just that I'm an introvert, like it's that simple. And I'm like, yes, but I need to teach you how to love yourself through being an introvert in an extroverted world. So to be an extrovert in an extroverted world, the alignment pretty much happens just as it does. You know, like extroverts get their energy from being out in the world and participating and doing things and going places, and that's sort of the way you live your life. So there isn't a whole lot of special care that's required for extroverts. Excuse me, for introverts though, there's quite a bit. So just to give you like some of the characteristic traits, just briefly for this video, for the purpose of doing this video, if you are an introvert, it is likely that being on all the time is draining, that you enjoy and or actually really feel that you need alone time. You have a smaller, intimate group of friends, and everyone else sort of outside of that fray becomes an acquaintance. So there's your inner sanctum, which is what I call it. There's your peeps, 2 or 3 people that are in your inner sanctum. They're your do or die, your besties. And then everyone else is just sort of, not that you don't like them or like spending time with them, and maybe you do call them a friend, but there's sort of an inner fray and an outer fray. The people in the world may see you as being shy, being quiet, and sometimes people that are shy and quiet also then get the label from the outside world as being sort of bitchy or stuck up. And again, that's not true. It's just the way that you digest situations. You need that extra little bit of time to digest things. Introverts tend to be very self-aware. So I have absolutely no scientific data on this whatsoever, but I would hazard to guess that most people that are interested in personal growth and are on the spiritual path of awakened consciousness or expanded consciousness are probably all introverts. That's just my guess. But like I said, I'm going to post a link to do the test, the free test, in the group. I want you guys to do it. Post in the group what your answers are, and we'll just see what happens. Excuse me, introverts tend to have a very, very rich inner world. And I'm going to speak to what it means to be me, the introvert, in just a few minutes, just to give you some other points of reference. And the last one is they don't like talking on the phone. So my client, this one that had the aha recently, when I said to her, I just rhymed off a few things. I'm like, introverts hate going to the mall because there's like the music from every different store and the perfume counter at the bay that smells, and there's people and kids screaming and it gets stimulation overload. They don't like talking on the phone. And she went, oh my God, that's a thing? And I was like, yes, it's a thing. Introverts don't like talking on the phone. You can text or email to arrange a phone call, but like we kind of prefer that our phone doesn't just like spontaneously ring unannounced, because it sort of is an intrusion into the internal world that's going on. So anyway, we laughed about that quite a bit because apparently when she gets phone calls sometimes she just declines the call or she turns the ringer off and then judges the crap out of herself of what a bad person she is that she doesn't take these phone calls, when really it's an introvert thing. So here's how it's translated in my life. Sorry, Steph, I haven't been able to keep up with your comments. Couldn't that be an empathy thing too, that you don't like loud public spaces? Yes. I don't think that empaths come in an extroverted flavor. I think that empaths are all introverted, because the next level after being an introvert is a highly sensitive person, an HSP. So yes, I would say that all introverts probably have some level of being empathic, and then the true empathic people that actually pick up on energies. And we would have another talk about that maybe next week. They're more of the highly sensitive person flavor. So I'm just going to try and scroll down and see if I can get Shannon's. Okay. This whole time I thought I was an extrovert. I'm clearly an introvert living in an extrovert. Yes, Shannon. Yes. This is huge. This is a big game changer when you learn how to look after yourself and honor the fact that you're an introvert. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that now. Sorry for putting my finger on then you can't exist stuff. Absolutely you exist. You exist. Okay, so for myself, and because I can talk about client stories, but I'll just share a little bit about my introverted path. So when chronic people pleaser, I was always out and about in the world doing for other people. This is the older version of me. Before I started doing all the personal work and healing work and stuff like that, I was a chronic people pleaser. So I was always out and about doing stuff, always doing, hiding in the doing, keeping myself busy so that I didn't have to deal with this, and people pleasing, trying to gain validation, love, acceptance from others. But I was always drained, and I always watched myself and compared myself to other people who were living relatively similar lives in the fact that they were busy, and they just seemed to keep on going. And yet for me, I would crash. I would need to nap. Often napping has been a part of my life, almost my entire adult life, because the stimulation and the burnout that comes with being and going and doing and keeping up with the extroverted world is so draining to the introvert. It leads to meltdowns. One of my very best friends is an extrovert. And when we travel together or we go on nights out together, I would always end up bailing. And she would be disappointed that we'd get to midnight or 1 o'clock and she would want to go to the after party. And I'm like, no, I'm Cinderella. I'm done for tonight. I have to go home. I'm done. So that's a very, very introverted trait where you can go to events and you can enjoy yourself just like everyone else. And then it's like literally Cinderella. It's like something happens in your body that just ticks and you go, that's it. I'm done. Must go home. And it's like, get me out of here. Say your goodbyes. I gotta go. And that's a very introverted thing. So here I was escapading around in my life and in the world, thinking that I was an extrovert because I wasn't a shy little wallflower. I'm very sociable. But what I was doing is I was always constantly setting my life up in the things that I committed to doing, and always wanting to do more and do more and do more, because that was the chronic people pleaser in me that was causing more and more and more of a drain. And the more that I got drained, the more I judged myself for not being able to keep up with my own life or my aspirations or keeping up the way other people appeared to be able to keep up. So it really did some, in quotes, cause damage in my relationship with myself, because literally all I was trying to do was the people-pleasing aspect and then keep up with an extroverted life. So now what it looks like is when I have my alone time and my quiet time, which is actually quite a lot because it's important to me that I keep my energy clean, is that when I'm home here in between clients and I'm, doing whatever I'm doing, I don't even have music on. I like it when quiet means quiet, because that's where I'm having my conversations with my guides and with spirit and with source and with myself, and just really, I'm in that really rich place of being inside my own introverted world. I often joke that malls should have an introvert day or month or like a time frame. Because in what I explained earlier in this video is being an introvert and going to a mall is sensory overload. And what I find very often when I go is that I'll get there and forget what I went for. The brain fog just completely takes over. My internal systems start to shut down. My daughter is also an introvert. She's a teenager, so there's certain teenager shopping things that have to happen. And we quite often in the early stages of this revelation would go shopping, end up in a fight, and come home mad at each other. Until I realized that what was actually happening is within minutes of us getting to where we were going, we were both depleted. And then we were being prickly and icky with each other because of the depletion. So now we just have a contract with each other that whenever we have to go and do something like that, we just say like, okay, let's go, let's do it. We think it's going to be this store and this store. This is what we think we want to get. We make our lists. And then we just say, if either one of us have to bail, we just say, okay, Mom, you know what? I'm done. Or you know what, sweetheart, I think I'm done for today. And we just honor it. And we haven't fought about it since. What else? The over-planning yourself. That's another big one. Introverts absolutely need their downtime after an uptime. So again, that whole concept of being on. So when I'm at a networking event where there's going to be lots of people, or if I'm at a speaking engagement or I'm holding a workshop, I always plan as best I can for the rest of that day, evening, or the next day or evening, a block of time where I'm not committed to anything or anyone. Because the keeping up with the idea that I can, go to a networking event in the morning and then do a speaking engagement in the afternoon and then see clients the next day would be sort of the norm of what society would expect that one could do. And I know that I would be bringing like a shit version of myself to my life, and then I would feel shameful and not be good for my clients and then not be good for myself. So I honor my introvert from that perspective, and I plan my schedule out accordingly. And I just say I own it now. Like I even say to my kids or whatever, like if the three of us have been out doing something, then I'll say, okay, driving home in the car. Okay, guys, when we get home, I'm going to need some downtime, and, we can reconvene again at 6 o'clock or whatever to figure out what we're going to do for dinner and what the evening's going to look like. But I'm going home to crash for a bit, and I may or may not sleep. I may meditate. I might just sit with my laptop and scroll through Facebook or whatever. But I just sort of block off that amount of time and just set the expectation that, you know what, I've done my outside in the world doing stuff thing. And now I need to reconnect back with myself and restore my batteries. So, what else? What else is another one? Oh, not answering right away. Not about not answering the phone, but sometimes because introverts need to go in order to sort of check in with themselves, touch base with their intuition, go through their memory data bank, see how something is feeling in their body somewhere before they can come up with a response. Learning how to sort of navigate that piece when someone asks you to do something is really important as well as an introvert. So if someone comes up to you and says, well, there's, we're all going out for lunch, there's 10 of us, whatever, blah, 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 after this meeting, why don't you join us? Then as being true to an introvert, being true to the extroverted world, you're going to say, oh yeah, sure, I'd love to join you guys, blah, blah, blah. But honoring the introvert means that you say, you know what, can I give you I'll check back in with you in 15 minutes. I just have to go do whatever, or I'm just headed to the washroom. I'll give you an answer in a minute. Because what you need to do is check in with yourself and say, okay, is that the right choice for me right now? I know it sounds like a good idea. I know it may even feel like a should, but really you need a minute to check in with yourself. And that can come in many, many, many different forms. If you're in a conversation with a spouse or a partner or a boss or a friend, and they have, they're posing something to you and, well, what do you think? Well, what do you think? Or there's some kind of engagement that requires your input. It's perfectly okay as an introvert to say, I need to leave that with me. Leave that with me. I need a few minutes to give you a response. If you wouldn't mind, can I get back to you on that tomorrow or whatever? It's about building the pause into your life that allows you to go back inside to be able to sort of check in with yourself, recalibrate, and check in with your body, your intuition, and your gut to say what is the most appropriate response for this right now, so that you're not acting out of that knee-jerk reaction, because quite often, and most often for introverts, that knee-jerk answer, the knee-jerk reaction is not in alignment with who you are. You need that space, and it can be literally seconds, or it could take more time depending on what the ask is, but you need that time to be able to go in. And the telephone thing one is big. Being introduced into environments where there's other people. So introverts need to just sort of come into the space. If they come into a room full of new people, they need a little bit of time to warm up to the situation. So they need to come into the space. Their energy checks out the energy of what's going on in the room, and then sort of reports back to them, and then they go back into their inner world where they evaluate and measure, how does this make me feel? Do I feel like I could be comfortable here? Do these feel like they're my people? How am I going to present myself in this situation? So not being dragged into a room full of new people and come and meet everybody and they're great and you're going to love them all. And, an introvert kind of goes, oh boy, I needed a minute. I needed a minute. So that's a really good one actually to be aware of for yourself, but particularly for children too, because children can be introverts. And if you have a child that's an introvert and you bring them to a birthday party or a gathering or a family event or whatever, and you're like, go, 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 what's wrong with you? Go say hi to everyone. You're not sort of allowing them to honor that piece of themselves. So being an introvert and knowing whether you are or not is important, and then learning how to navigate and honor that introverted piece of yourself, and then take it on to whether you have a child or children that are introverts. It can't be changed. It can't be helped. It's not an affliction or a disease. It just is. But it is something that's a huge, huge piece of the self-love piece, of the honoring of the divinity within you, and learning how to navigate the outside world in the best way possible that allows you to be an introvert in an extroverted world. So let me just read some of the comments here. Steph's just come in with something. Okay, well, I'm clearly not an introvert, but I am definitely on a spiritual path, which goes against what you say is possible. No, I didn't say it wasn't possible. I said it was in my unscientific study that I've been doing, is that most of the people that are into personal growth and spirituality are introverts. But I'm curious to know. So you don't feel that you are an introvert. We will have to discuss this more. So when I post the link for the test, do the test and post it in the group, and we'll see what the results are. Steph, that would be fun. So absolutely, you're an ENFP. Okay, all right. So what will happen, I'm going to post the link for those of you that are going to be watching the replay. I'm going to post the link for the free Myers-Briggs test, and what you will get is 4 letters. And I can speak to all 4 of them as far as what it all means in how you receive information, how you process information, how you make decisions. And we'll just let that sort of roll out as the conversation plays out here in the Soul Space group. But first and foremost, you want to know whether you are either an E or an I. So that's E for extrovert or I for introvert, and then the other 3 letters. So you'll get a 4-letter answer. And as I said, post it in the group, and we'll have a discussion about it. But I just wanted to bring that forum to the group, because I still get clients that test that they're extroverts, and really in the end what it turns out to be most often is that they're people pleasers, and they're people pleasers that are not meeting the expectations of the extroverted world and not honoring their own introverted selves. So it can be a game changer for some people. So I just wanted to share that. We'll just change topics for a minute. How is everybody doing? Like, for reals, everybody, how are you doing? I know, I've heard from a bunch of people. You're welcome, Shannon. You still do the test though, okay? I've heard from a bunch of people. You're welcome, Steph. I've heard from a bunch of people over the course of the weekend and spitter spatters through the month of February. And I know that it's energetically been a bit of a roller coaster ride for some. And I just want you to know that I'm here, and energetically I have your back. I have your best interest at heart. If you need to get in touch with me, please don't hesitate to. No one is going crazy. That's awesome, Steph. I'm glad. You're not losing it, although there may be moments where you feel that you are. Just to reflect back on the video from Friday, if you haven't watched it, I highly encourage, if you're finding things to be a little up and down and all over the place lately, that you go back and watch that video. And as I said, reach out to me if you need to have further discussions about what's going on for you and where you're being triggered, and emotionally how you're feeling as you navigate things. What else have I got going on? Wednesday is meditation, and it is absolutely so much more. It's group guided meditation for all levels. Here at my place at 10:30 in the morning and at 7:30 at night. It attracts an amazing group of women. We have all kinds of discussions. We are very supportive of one another. And I have sort of shifted the meditations a little bit into more of healing meditations. We're just moving into that healing space. So as I shift and move, and as my gifts and my up-leveling happens, it always is translated into the Wellness Wednesday meditation program. So my clients that are in their healing journey packages with me, they come, and there's people that just come just on the Wednesdays because that's their opportunity to connect with themselves, to connect with me. So I highly recommend it. I did take a poll in the group the week before last, I believe. I don't know, time is liquid. Asking about various workshops. I have secured an amazingly beautiful spot in Milton. It is just at like Bronte and Derry, so it's not that far for the Oakville community to go to, and I'm going to be holding workshops there at least once a month, and then whatever else sort of comes up along the way. So there's lots of stuff happening. I'm loving and supporting you all. I'm going to post some stuff about being an introvert in the group, and I'm just going to open it up now. If you have any questions or comments, anything that you want to talk about here on the live with me, I'm here. And if I'm just going to wait to see if anybody posts any comments. And it doesn't look like it. Okay, so thank you for watching. If you have ideas about future lives and things that you want to talk about, whether it's personal growth and development or spirituality and energy and spirit realms and all of that stuff, please post in the comments, PM me, message me, email me, whatever. I'm always looking for sort of what material sort of resonates with the group depending on where they are in their path. If you're watching this on the replay, thank you so much. Continue to post in the comments, as I will stay engaged with this post until the conversation dries up. Wednesday meditation at my place. Stay tuned for more workshops. And I just want to say, I love you guys. I love you all. Thank you, Soul Space, for helping me build this great community. We're at 352 people now. Who would have thunk it? And when I get the insights for the group, it's like well over 200 people are actually active in the group. So yay to us for building a community where we are being so loving and supporting with one another and really adding value to each other's journey. I am so proud and so pleased because that was what I wanted when I created it. So I will sign off for the evening. Love to you all. We'll see you soon. Good night.